Chapter 28, verse 20.
Okay. From Vayikra, right?
No, Vayidar. Oh, okay, we had that verse before already. Chapter 20.
Okay, then.
Vayidar Yaakov. So Jacob wakes up. Jacob has this dream. He dreams the angels are going up and down, and he wakes up and he says, "Oh, God is in this place, and I did not know." And then Jacob makes a vow. Vayidar Yaakov Neder.
More Elohim, Imadi, Simrani,
Busharani.
Darecha, Azeh, Asher, Amukid, Lech, Natan, Li, Lechem, Bechol, Ubeged, Levush.
Right. So Jacob wakes up from his Jacob wakes up from his sleep, and he makes a vow. Either Yaakov Neder or more. He takes a vow saying, if God will be with me, and he will guard me on this journey that I'm walking on, and he gives me food to eat and clothing to wear. Let's see what the Rashi says. If he will guard for me these promises, that he promised me. What are the promises? To be with me. And he said above in verse 15, I will guard you wherever you go. It says in verse 15 that God says, behold, I will be with you. So if he keeps that, then behold, everything will be good. And he guards me. Like it says, and he gives me food to eat. As it states, somebody who has to seek food, who's hungry, is called forsaken. As it says, I never saw a righteous person forsaken and his offspring seeking bread. So Jacob says, God, if you'll be with me, go on.
Rabbi,
Akiva, you read the next pasuk.
Before the next pasuk, Rabbi.
Wait, 1 second. What'd you say, Rabbi Yosef?
Before the next pasuk, Rav Chaim Shmulevitz says that these two verbs are extra because obviously I'm going to eat the bread and wear the clothing, not going to eat the clothing and wear the bread or whatever. He says that there are sometimes that you have plenty of food and plenty of clothing, but your body is so weak and you can't even swallow the food, or you can't put on clothing because you have sores everywhere or your broken arm, God forbid. So he said that that's why it's lechem le'echol and beged lilvosh, that it will be a complete bracha.
Very nice. Okay, now we go on.
V'shavti v'shalom el beis avi, and if I returned in peace to the house of my father, V'haya Hashem li le'elokim, and Hashem will be for me God.
Right. So what? Very good, Akiva. So Rashi says v'shavti v'shalom, and if I return, like it says in the verse, v'ashivoticha b'shalom. What does it mean in peace? Rashi says shalem min achet, free of sin. He was praying. He doesn't want to learn from the ways of his father-in-law Lavan, even though he's not his father-in-law yet. And Vaya Hashem li le'elokim, and Hashem will be a God to me. What does that mean? He says, if I do all this, then Hashem will be a God to me. Sheyachol shemo alai, his name will rest upon me from beginning to end. That there will be no defect in my offspring, as it states, as I've spoken for you. And this promise should have no defect. Okay, so
That's Rashi.
Rashi, yeah. What's the problem that you have with that?
I have no problem with that. I don't think it. I don't think it.
One more verse
related to the text.
Oh, he says because Hashem will be for right. So right? So it's not so related to the text because the text says Hashem will be for me for God. It makes him like saying, if you return me, then Hashem will be my God. Meaning you got to put up exactly. And we'll just do one more pasuk, then we'll take Jeff has some issues with what's going on here. Aiden, please read the next verse.
From Vayaret, right?
No, 22. Vayeven hazot.
Vayeven hazot asher samati.
Samti.
And saveh.
Matseva. This stone which I made for a pillar.
Yehiyeh beit Elohim the kol asher titan li asher.
Aser.
Asrenu lecha.
Asrenu lech. So he says, if you do that for me, if you take me back in peace, I want you to listen closely, Eyal. listen closely. Take me back in peace. Then this stone will be a pillar for the house of God, and whatever you give me, I'll give a tenth to you. Evan azos. So Rashi says, Viha Evan. Evan azos kitargumo. I will worship upon it before God. This stone will be my house of worship, and I'll make an altar. And we saw earlier today that this stone became the temple. This was the Evan Shasiya, foundational stone of the world. This was the stone in the Holy of Holies, this stone. Let's look at the Rashi here. That the Rashi we discussed. Let's look at the hello, Reb David. Always a pleasant surprise. Let's look at the before we get to answer Jeff's question or address Jeff's question, I want to share with you a text from Rambam. Rambam says, even though, because we have a problem, can you sell something that you don't yet own or that's not yet in existence? So in American law, it's no problem. In American law, you can say, well, if my stock goes up to 100, then I'll sell it to you. That you can do. That's a pretty basic way of trading stocks. But in Jewish law, can you say, I'm going to sell you the 50 apples that my tree will produce? That means you're selling something that's not yet in existence. So the answer is, we rule that a person you can't sell something that's not yet in existence. Which is not what that according to Jewish law, when they were based upon like the farming market. But yeah, Arya, yeah, you had a question? Oh, you're just so. But if he says it in the form of a vow, he can consecrate it. He can, if he uses a form of a vow, that was okay. And that's what Maimoni says. But now, what do we learn from here? We learned from this law about the law of tithing, and that you're not allowed. The Gemara in Ksubos says, one who gives charity, you're not allowed to give more than 20% of your money to charity. Why? If you give more than 20%, then you might have to go begging yourself. And what's the source? Because it says, from whatever you give me, I will give a tenth of a tenth, and that's a fifth. So by the way, this idea that you're not allowed to give more than a fifth, that only applied when people didn't have so much money. But if Jeff Bezos gave 99% of his money to charity, he still would have plenty left over for the rest of his life. If Elon Musk has $1 trillion, if he could give 999, what?
Even $1 trillion?
Yeah.
I think so. I think that's what his stock is. I think that's what they said. He's a trillionaire. So if he gave okay, whatever. Let's say he gives $499 billion to charity. He still will be unable to spend his money for the rest of his life. So this law that you're not allowed to give more than 20% doesn't apply to the people today who've accumulated so much wealth. It only applies to the people who, if they give more than 20%, will be having to go. You're not allowed to impoverish yourself for charity. That's the idea. You're not allowed to impoverish yourself by giving charity, because then you're not helping the world. You're just saying you need to go give more charity. Another reason why you know how to do it is because we want you to keep working in the world. And if you end up giving away your money, you're going to not have this desire to work if you know you have to give it all away. Let's say you knew that by the laws of charity, you have to give away all your money, then what are you going to do? You're not going to work. You say, why should I work? The Torah says I have to give it all away. So there's this idea that you're not going to give more than 20%. So then you're like, okay, that I can handle. But the truth is, you should really give more than 20% if you're in the upper echelon of taxes. Jeff, you had a question.
Yeah, sir. You can't do this. You can't make a deal with God. You can't say, if God, you certain things, you know, then I will either believe in you or follow the command.
So
it's a traditional commitment, and I find that Yaakov.
The Talmud says. So first of all, Jeff, that's a great question. But the one case where you're allowed to do it is with charity. The Talmud says you're allowed to give to charity and say, I'm giving this to you, God, that you heal this person. You're allowed to do it with charity. But here, Jacob was saying, if you do this, I'll give you the charity. So you're allowed to do that. The Talmud says that you could do that.
That's two things.
Yeah, he says, if you bring me back, I'll give 10% to you.
Something else. If I return to my father's house in peace, then the Lord will be my God. That's a big if. That's not like a big charity.
Well,
You'll be God only if you return me to my father's house.
so that's why Rashi doesn't read it like that. Rashi reads it, very good, Shoshana. Rashi reads it that Hashem's name will come upon me. That Hashem's name will come upon me on my descendants. Doesn't mean that you'll be my God. We might have read it that way, but I guess because of Shoshana's question and Jeff's question, remember Steve said, wait, what is he saying? He's saying that his name will rest upon me from beginning to end. That my seed will not become defective.
That's Rashi's.
That's Rashi's reading. Maybe he's bothered by what Shoshana was pointing out.
Funny bothered.
Maybe. Jeff, I cut you off. I'm sorry, Jeff.
So, just words tell me that you can't make a deal. No, if you're dealing with God.
Where does it say you can't make a deal when you're dealing with God?
I think it's essential to our.
But tzedakah is an exception.
You accept what is given to you, accept what happens. If bad things happen to you, you can't say, well, the deal's off, God. I'm going to go near Jesus, which I just.
Right, with that you can't, but with tzedakah is the one exception where you can make a deal.
Yeah, that's it.
The words to me don't jump out of it.
Right, because the one
Acceptance.
Well, let's please, Jeff, read Rabbi Steinsaltz's translation of verse 21. Read out Rabbi Steinsaltz. Oh, you don't have Steinsaltz. Who has the Steinsaltz translation? Shoshana, please read it.
It says, and if I return to my father's house in peace, then the Lord shall be my God. Now here's Steinsaltz. I will dedicate myself to his service. Certainly Jacob believed in God beforehand, but here he pledges himself to his worship as a personal obligation.
Okay, so that means that he's taking upon himself a vow that if God returns him, he's going to be like a rabbi, like something like that. He'll use his strength, and that there's a lot of examples of rabbis who are in like a very famous stories of Pnei Yoshua, Rabbi Yoshua Falk. He was in his home in Lviv or in Lemberg. It's the same city, Lviv, Lvov, Lemberg, they're all the same town. And there was a fire in the house, and the beam fell upon him, and it was burning him. And he said, if I come out of this alive, I'm going to dedicate my life to answering all the questions that the commentaries ask, that commentary Tosafos asks on Rashi. And so for the rest of his life, he was then miraculously saved, and the rest of his life he dedicated to answering all the questions on Rashi and basically, quote unquote, rescuing Rashi. So there is this idea that you could say, God, if you get me through this, I'm going to dedicate my life to you in more service. So that's the way Rabbi Steinsaltz was reading it.
Rabbi,
Yes, Ben.
I just feel like I want to support what I think Jeff is saying. I understand maybe it's not a complete, bargain about whether you will actually believe in God, but it feels awfully transactional. If you get me through this, then you're going to get something better. So it sort of implies, that there's some conditionality to how devoted he's going to be to God.
Good restatement.
Well,
Yeah.
there are other examples of this in the Bible also. Yes, Haviva.
Was it Hannah that made it a deal?
Oh, very nice. A stark answer by Aviva. Hannah also, how did Hannah say that if you give me a child, I will dedicate him to service of Hashem? It's like almost the same thing. Yes, Akiva.
allowed to make deals with Hashem. We're just not allowed to test him except for tzedakah. There's a difference between making a deal and testing.
Say more, say better,
So if you
Akiva.
make a deal, you could say, for example, if you give me a child, I'm going to dedicate him to the Beis HaMikdash
Right.
or the Mishkan. If I get saved from this, I'm going to spend the rest of my life learning in Kollel, for example.
Get
But-
shocked.
But there's a difference between that and saying, oh, if you don't give me this, then then this isn't true, or I'm not gonna follow Shabbos anymore.
Right, and also, right, so you can't
You
test
don't
God.
give me parnasa, I'm never gonna give tzedakah again.
Akiva's speaking good. Akiva's speaking a lot of wisdom here. I like the way he formulated it. You see, he lives in Lakewood, so in Lakewood they're so far ahead of us. These guys are dark like anything.
But it's not.
It's not exactly what it says.
I will do this, and then you can ask the corollary, if you don't do this, I won't do that. And if the answer is, you will be my God, if you do it, you will be the Lord. If you don't do it, you won't be the Lord. So.
Okay, so
everybody's.
Here, let me put this. This is a Geshma question. Let me put this into my new Rebbe. I'm going to ask Rock, how do the Jewish sources justify it? Yeah, let's see what they say. Justify Yaakov. What's it first?
21.
And
Both 20 and 21, 28.
provide sources. Okay, let's see what they say. By the way, in less than 5 seconds, here we go. Okay, a statement appears on the surface as if Jacob is testing God. Hey, Eliezer, how you doing? But, or setting conditions, something that seems audacious or even irreverent. You know what audacious is, Eyal?
Nope.
It means like chutzpahdik. Like, you know what chutzpahdik is?
Outrageous.
No, like outrageous, like disrespectful. Bear, by the way, you have your phone with you?
Yeah.
Take a picture of us studying in such a beautiful feeling on the eve of Thanksgiving. I'm thankful to everybody for studying together. So here he says, wait, no, look at me, not the camera. Look at me, not the camera. Hey, look at me. Yeah. Okay, here are the major approaches with sources. Well, wow. They give us so many geschmack things. First, I'll say Rashi says Jacob is afraid he might sin in the future and thereby forfeit divine protection. His vow is not a test of God's reliability, but an expression of human anxiety. If God remains with me despite my possible future sins, then I will know that he's truly my Hashem. Ramban says Jacob already fully accepted God after the dream. The vow is not conditional acceptance of God, but a promise to give charity, like we said. That's the way we were reading it. Okay, other things. Forno. Jacob is establishing a new level of relationship, not doubting Hashem's existence. That's what we were saying. That's what Rabbi Steinzal said. Forno explains that Jacob is not questioning whether the God who appeared to him is a true God. Rather, he's saying, if God will act towards me with special divine providence, even that he showed my father, then I will know that the Lord is my God in the intimate, personal way he was theirs. He's saying, if God acts with me like he acted with my fathers, then I'll know that I have the same relationship with him that they had. Okay, I guess similar. Then linguistic reinterpretation. Then the Lord shall be my God is not conditional. Okay, this is the way I was suggesting. And it's Ibn Ezra. He says, Ibn Ezra reads the verse as declaring, the Lord will be my God, meaning Jacob is affirming his faith, not making it contingent. That's the way I read it also. And Radak also reads it that way. And finally, Midrashic and mystical defenses. The Midrash says that Jacob was punished for this. He was punished for this. That later Dinah was violated and he never returned to his father's house in peace during Isaac's lifetime. So they said as a result of this, he was punished, but they say we could have a little bit of compassion for him because he had extreme fear while fleeing for his life. And the Zohar say that his words were not doubt, but a profound act of uniting the divine name below with the divine name above. We'd have to look at the Zohar in depth to see it. But anyway, first of all, we're not the first ones to have this conversation. It's so geschmack. And also, why would anybody ever read a book again when we have Grok giving us everything that's in the books in 2 seconds? Yes, Akiva.
Using Grok?
Grok. What's wrong with that?
I like Grok.
Grok is so geschmack.
Not available on Shabbos, Rabbi.
I thought Dina's
Not yet.
violation most of the Rishonim, don't they say that it was because Yaakov didn't want to give her to Esav? He hid her from Esav.
Yeah, you're right, Akiva. There's a lot of different explanations as to why Dinah was assaulted. But this is the Grach found this. The Grach, there's the great rabbi called the Grach. That's the Gaon Reb Chaim of Brisk. He was called the Grach. So this is called the Grach. So the Grach is just found a midrash which says that, but it's not necessarily the dominant one. Also, I mean, whatever. It's nice. Obviously, to me, I'm just saying on a serious note, the essence of Torah study is not acquiring knowledge, but the dedication and the yigios, the effort that one puts into. It's not. I mean, there's no kunst to be able to have all this knowledge just from Grok. The point is what we're doing now, to make time from our day to study, and even if we come to the wrong conclusion, it's way better than just having all this knowledge in our head. Like if we could implant a chip in our head, that's not the level of spiritual connection to God as just sitting here and having this conversation. I cut you off, Eliezer.
I cut you off. Right. The origin of the word grok, Heinlein in the book Stranger in a Strange Land. Grok is more than just understanding, it's to feel.
Oh, really? I never knew that. How'd you learn that from Grok? Okay. All righty. So okay, now the next verse, are we still going? Somebody sent me a joke, but I'm not going to repeat it, about Jacob's meeting. I'm not going to repeat it. It was making fun of modern Orthodox. I'm not going to do it. I won't do it. What?
Everyone here.
Maybe afterwards. I don't want to do it. It's not right. Take away from Torah study. Elon, please read the next pasuk. Pasuk Parachav Test Pasuk Aleph. Parachav Test Pasuk Aleph. No. Read that first word again. Very good. You're a Kohen. Go on. Oh, right. So Yaakov lifted up his legs and he went towards the land of Bnei Kedem, towards the east. Towards the east. What's east of Israel?
China.
Well,
Bavel.
yeah, Bavel. He's going east. It's really northeast, but they call it east because it's also to the east. It's the Bnei Kedem. So Rashi says he lifted up his legs. Oh, this is such a beautiful teaching. This is such a beautiful teaching from Rashi. Eyal, I want you to open up your heart to this one. You're going to love this one. So, such a nice teaching. Mishinispaser besoras tovo. When he heard the good news that he was assured of being guarded by Hashem, nasalibu es raglov. His heart lifted his feet. V'nasa kalalachet. It became easy to walk. Sometimes when we have bad news, it becomes like we're feeling.
Get over it.
No, I was good. Rashi's saying something else. When we have bad news, sometimes, God forbid, or we're in a bad mood, everything is hard. But when we hear good news, everything is light. We're like, and so what does he do? And he hears the good news. He runs. He runs to go do it. He runs to go do it. So, what a bracha! Don't you find this verse so inspirational that he hears the good news and he runs to find his bride. He runs to find his bride. Okay, Aryeh, please read the next pasuk. And by the way, yesterday was Aryeh's birthday, and we wish Aryeh one day late, but we tell him, Aryeh, this is the day. Yesterday was the day Hashem said the world can't exist without you. The world cannot exist without Aryeh. Okay, Maryar v'nei be'er basadeh. There was a well in the field. V'nei sham shlosha edrei stone. There were 3 flocks crouching by the well, because from that well, okay, we have to stop here, but I want to say just my schedule because we're down in Mincha now. I want to say the schedule because I know people